January 23, 1998, Jose Onfroy was born to his parents, Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy and Cleopatra Bernard, in Plantation, Florida in Broward County. Jose's dad drove almost an hour from West Palm Beach to Plantation Hospital in order to see his firstborn son. So that fucking traffic must have been crazy for him to still arrive late. And it was actually his very firstborn son, because before Jose, he had a daughter named Ariana.
January 23rd, man, 1998, man. I remember I was scared shitless. Got to the hospital a little bit late, like a couple hours late. Because at the time when Cleo was having the baby, I was back in West Palm Beach. You know, and I drive from West Palm to Plantation Hospital. And I see my little man. You know, I see my beautiful boy, 21 years ago. Firstborn son, man.
According to Jose's dad, Jose lived a normal life that almost every kid had. Growing up and being very playful, wanting a lot of toys, not wanting to take showers, not wanting to brush his teeth, and even not even want to wear a shirt. X had said that he had nothing growing up, which was a lie because both his parents said that he was actually a spoiled kid. And Jose's mom has said it in her own words that Jose had almost everything in his hands: food, clothes, and even video games, and almost every game console. Jose's dad tried his best to be in his son's life and even ended up living with him for his first couple of years of his life. And if I'm not wrong, I think he lived with him until Jose was 1 year and 4 months, which is crazy to know that Jose was already separated from his mom at 1 year old.
Now, raising him, I was more of a disciplinarian, man. I was strict on them. For the first 2 years of his life, you know, it was him and Ariana. Then eventually he had moved back in with Cleo, because like from 6 months to a year, he was living with me and Ariana's mom. Then after that, you know, Cleo came back and, you know, got him.
Sadly, X's dad was separated from him for a while, but he still tried his best to do the occasional calls and visitation. Eventually, he saw him again when he was turning 10 years old, and it would be, sadly, the first and last time he sees him in person, or even alive. Josh's dad actually flew in from California to Florida to see his son for his birthday. After dealing with a state case, Josh's dad was almost everywhere in the world, from California to even Arkansas, but he ended up flying to Florida to see his son for his 10th birthday. He had flown him from California. He ended up buying X and his siblings a couple of shirts from Ed Hardy, since that was the most popular clothing at the time. After X's birthday, he ended up going back to Arkansas, where he ended up getting arrested 2 months later.
When he just became 10, Cleo had thrown a birthday party for him in her new house. I think it was in Plantation, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And I just flew in from California for his birthday. I bought him, his sister, his brothers, you know, bought him some gear. I think at the time it was Ed Hardy was the major. Yeah. So I bought all four of them, all Ed Hardy, and I came in for his birthday party. Because I had just gotten arrested on a state case, and I was back and forth between Arkansas, California, and whatever. I think February I went back to Arkansas. Then left there, and after that it was where I was.
Now, X's dad got caught up on a really bad charge at the time because weed was very illegal, since it was probably the early 2010s or early 2000s, and weed was not legal at all. Weed was fucking considered damn near next to meth at that time, bro, because people saw you smoking weed and they thought that you was smoking on some crazy ass shit. But motherfuckers was really out here doing coke, because Jim Carrey was very obviously high on coke when he was in his movie. Now, X's dad wasn't the one that sold the weed. See, in X's dad's words, he says that he was the one that was making the deal. He was just setting up the deal, basically like a middleman kind. At that time, he wasn't caught up with anything on him, no weed or any substances. But what fucked him over was that he made a deal with an undercover cop, so it was all a setup. And with him already having a lot of fucking charges, even one where I think he even had a whole bunch of marijuana on him, he ended up getting deported back to Jamaica. Now, after X's father ended up getting locked up, X was actually the first person and only person at the time that was told that his father ended up being locked up by Cleo herself. Now, with X's dad being locked up, X faced a lot of problems and a lot of issues due to him being gone. See, Cleo was around a lot of men that were abusive to her, and X had to defend her at a very young age. X's father was in and out of jail because of the life that he was living and because he was trying to give his kids a better life. And with Cleo being a young and single mother with men coming in and out of the house doing weird shit to her, it's pretty obvious that X was going to go through some shit mentally, and it would fuck him up emotionally forever. Now, based on what X has said in the past in some interviews and some things that I found on the internet, it's no secret that X's mom was probably a sex worker at one point in her life for a little bit of time. Now, there's nothing wrong with that at all because, you know, get your money how it is, but it still kind of did damage him a lot since there was a lot of guys around the house doing a whole bunch of things to her, like abusing her, taking advantage of her, or maybe even doing something to X, who knows. But X definitely had to be there at all times to protect her. Now, I can't really go too in depth about his childhood, but there is some stuff out there about his childhood that can lead to his mental health and what really fucked him up. Now, X has mentioned it in the past in his other interviews, but he has said that there was a time where his mom was dating someone very abusive, and to the point where X actually had to stab him with a piece of glass shard.
Hands on my mom type shit.
And
like,
you were how young?
I was like 6.
And you stabbed him.
And
with what?
I bit his flesh out and like grabbed the glass shard and like poked him with it type.
Now, a little 4 to 5 year old kid doing this shit, it's gonna fuck him up mentally, bro. Because what the fuck? You see a whole bunch of men abusing your mom. You see your mom going through a whole bunch of things. She's going through a whole bunch of emotions, and you finally have to step in to stab someone. That has to fuck you up mentally as a kid. From what we know, it seemed like it didn't change anything because it seemed like X was still begging for his mom's attention. Another thing that I am pretty sure really fucked up X growing up was seeing his uncle. There was a tweet from X, and even in a couple interviews where X has talked about him seeing his uncle hang himself in front of a balcony. Now, this might have been traumatizing for him because he tweeted about it and he also talked about it in many interviews. He even made a whole song about it. In the song Who the Fuck Is God, Jose actually talks about how his uncle was torturing himself, or how his uncle was tortured basically, how he ended up cutting his tongue off and after he ended up getting hanged, which is fucking insane to see as a little kid. And if I'm not mistaken, I think X was living with him at the time, so I don't really know. But what is known is that X's uncle was going through a lot of trauma. He was going through a lot of stuff. Eventually, Cleo's mom had to come back for him and, you know, take care of him. X didn't start making music until 2013 when he was around 14 years old. There was a rumor going around that X made music in 2012 and was releasing it on Facebook, but there's no proof and there's only a message from one of his old friends. But no doubt, X's first ever song was New/Flop. Now, goddamn, shout out to everyone that donated for this song because this song would have never been found, and it's one of X's first songs that we know of. This song sadly wasn't recorded in X's laptop, but he was brought into a studio by his mom to record his first ever song that we know of in May 25th, 2013 at Trainline Studio. Now, currently the guy that recorded the song is unknown, but the only person that does know is VLONE, since he did have an interview with him and he did have a whole post on him on Instagram. This guy's actually the first verse in the song because he's the one that's singing in the intro. It's been reported that X recorded at least 3 songs at this studio: Dragonheart, Newsflock, and then Lick It. It's also supposed that Cleo knew the owner, so that's why it was easy for X to get into the studio. Now, around this time, the relationship probably wasn't as bad as it used to be because based on some tweets in 2013, he started tweeting a lot about him loving his mom and how he loved being close to her. And he also ended up selling a chain or a bracelet that she ended up gifting him in order to get the tattoo that's on his chest that says Cleopatra, which ended up being his first tattoo. Now, reasonably, his mom ended up getting mad at him, and I guess this ended up making their bond even better. But sadly, X started gaining a lot of charges, and he also stole a laptop. Now, around this time, X already had a following on his SoundCloud and on Instagram. X was barely getting his first couple of listeners and starting up his fan base before he went to jail. Him and his mom was starting to get close, and she was getting him studio time. But with her finding out that X was fucking up again, of course, all that shit went away, and X fell alone again.
Bro, the state attorney is smart, bro. What the state attorney did was, because they know they can't fight the case, bro, and they know their case is weak, they basically didn't show up to court. The judge had no choice but to push the date back, so that way the state would show up. So my lawyer had nobody to argue with. You get what I'm saying? He couldn't argue my case because the state wasn't there. And I'm gonna spend my birthday in jail.
Yeah, that's what have you told anybody to tell your fans?
No, I don't want to disappoint them.
Briss, nobody, none of them boys came to see you?
No, not even, bro. It just makes me realize how alone I am, you know?
Now, with this being said, it's really unknown what their relationship was like before X became famous because, like X said, Cleo was never really around. She was always on and about with people. And something must have happened between them because X actually, at the age of 14, ended up moving in with his sister. Now, around this time, X was still in contact with his dad, and he would only talk to him through the phone. X's dad says that this must have been the year that X truly had some really bad shit going on in his head because he ran away from Cleo. He ended up running away with his sister Ariana, his stepmother, where he stayed with them for a bit until Ariana called up Cleo and told him to pick him up. I don't know why she ended up calling his mom up, but it's probably because he was probably doing some dumb shit at school, or maybe something outside of school. His dad ended up calling the house that he was staying at to check up if he was there, and he ended up getting disrespectful. And with X getting disrespectful, he also tried getting his sister to hang up on his own dad, so that ended up just giving them a better reason to kick him out. Now after Cleo ended up picking X up and taking him back home, it seemed like their relationship got even worse because X wasn't allowed inside and he would keep on getting kicked out. Now X was a very violent person. He loved fighting. He loved fighting at school, out of school. It didn't matter. I'm assuming this is one of the main reasons that X ended up getting kicked out of his house. It was because he kept on getting in trouble at school. Now many of X's old friends have said that X was actually a very lonely kid, even though he was very popular at school because he made a lot of friends. He damn near had a following at school. X had so many diehard friends as he had so many diehard fans because X was liked by a lot of people at school and they would always defend him while he was in jail. But with X being liked by a lot of people, him and his mom still had problems, and at one point, like I said, he was kicked out of his house, and at one point he spent Christmas all alone. He wasn't allowed to see his little brother or even see a video of his little brother opening his Christmas present. Ja was basically homeless because of his mother. She didn't want him anywhere near her family or near her, so of course Ja had to find a way to distract himself and give himself a new life. Now with Ja being homeless and having nowhere to stay, having nobody with him to comfort him or to even give him, you know, any advice in life, Ja resorted to being a criminal, and he started breaking into a whole bunch of homes. And from the looks of it, it looks like he was doing a home invasion all by himself until eventually he went to jail, where he met Stokely, or Ski Mask, the slump god. Now these guys met each other in juvenile hall, and off the bat they was already just doing some crazy ass shit. They was sneaking in pills, they were snorting shit that weren't even fucking drugs. Based off tweets that I've seen, it seems like Jase actually had a pretty easy life in jail. Not easy, but you know, he had it calm, while Ski Mask might have struggled a little bit. Now with both of these guys in jail and both of them having nothing in their future, they don't even know what they want to do in their life. They both resorted to just being home invaders and doing that shit for the rest of their lives until they eventually got caught. Now the reason that these guys didn't have anything planned for their future is because X was already homeless and already had nowhere to go. He was already resorting to crime and, you know, living the life of crime, while Ski Mask was becoming a plug. Ski Mask wanted to become a rapper, and he's always been rapping since a kid, but he couldn't get any traction. But Ski Mask was always pushed by his father and everyone around him that he was a really good rapper. Now with X meeting Ski Mask in jail and even planning to do home invasions together, it seemed like this friendship was meant to be, and they were supposed to cross paths with each other because Ski was still in school and so was X when they went to jail, and they both felt comfortable enough to meet each other after jail at school.
I need drugs, I need savior. My niggas, I got blood on my hands. I might up the heat and try to hold my fucking hands.
After X and Ski met in jail, they immediately felt a bond together and decided to rob some houses together. Literally fucking home invade, bro. Like, they decided to fucking break into houses before they even thought about making music. Ski liked music and he wanted to make music, but they needed money quick. Also, fun fact, Ski knew X because X was actually Facebook famous. I wouldn't doubt that shit. Eventually, X and Ski started doing everything together. They ended up breaking into houses together, and they also eventually ended up meeting up with each other after school in order to record music with another friend by the name of Nayora's spouse.
Who the fuck is Nora's spouse? All you bitches ugly. You skinny as fuck. You fucking bathed in Clorox. You ashy as fuck. Your legs fucking chapped. Nigga, kill yourself.
Now, I hope I'm not wrong or anything, but they probably met up or started making music together around September 2013, which is when X started his freshman year in Piper High School. Now, it looks like around late 2013 and early 2014, X started taking music way more serious because he would be meeting up with Ski and Nayora's spouse more often to talk about their music career. But quick little fun fact, X and Ski were actually on this shit way before Nayora, so they already made a little group called Very Rare Boys, which was created in March. The only 3 members in this group were actually Ski Mask, X, and another artist by the name of Drugs. And based off this single tweet that I found back in 2013, I'm just gonna assume that X probably had beef with one of the members, or maybe just something happened between one of the members. And on February 14, 2014, Very Rare was created. After Nayora came up to X and Ski with a laptop and a microphone saying that they were gonna become rappers. And X quickly got to work on his tape by the name of XXX Unmastered, and it was uploaded on SoundCloud. It consisted of at least 15 songs, and only a handful of songs survived. Vice City, Palm Trees, Dead, and even Gang Cypher. The first known song that X and Ski made is actually the song by the name of Gang Cypher, released February 26, 2014, recorded in the hallway of Piper High School, which is actually where this photo was taken. Which, if you've been a pretty long fan of X, or you're just really a big fan of him, I'm pretty sure you've seen this photo at least once. And this song was released the same day it was recorded. And for a 16-year-old rapper like X rapping like he was, I wouldn't doubt if he started growing a fan base pretty quick. X had raw lyrics, and he was being very lyrical for a 16-year-old kid that was about to drop out of high school. And now it was time for X to lock in and grind trying out his music because around this time he had met a whole bunch of people that were interested into making music. He had already met Ski and her spouse and Kid Trunks. Fun fact, he actually knew Kid Trunks in high school because Kid Trunks used to get bullied a lot and he would actually defend him. He would be getting bullied by everyone and he didn't know how to defend himself. Shit, he even got a fucking shotgun put on him just for Kid Trunks. Kid Trunks actually met X through Cynthia, which was the friends of both of them. Now, Kid Trunks had a funny relationship with Cynthia because he would just be around here like a little weirdo. This man was actually pre-cucking because he still wanted to be with Cynthia even though she wanted a boyfriend and wanted to kick him out of the house. And X didn't get along with him at first, but he ended up just fucking with him.
Well, I met him when I was like 14 or 15. I had a best friend back then in high school. Her name was Cynthia. And I would just usually be at her crib and shit, just vibing because we was friends. And she told me one day, she was like, yo, I got a man. You can't really like come over that much. And I was like, all right, bet, but you got to introduce me to him because you feel me? We best friends and shit. So X's old manager, Absent Will, he had dropped him off at Cynthia's house that day. And that's where I met him. But at first we didn't like get along because he wasn't a really friendly person.
Also something about Kid Trunks, while X was in jail, he invited a lot of people over to his house where they ended up stealing his phone, his laptop, and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think they even stole Ski's wallet. Kid Trunks and this other guy by the name of Walt were using his phone in order to go live on Periscope, which was like a Twitter thing back then where you would go live. And by that time, X already had a huge following, so Kid Trunks was just shouting himself out and the other guy. He also reposted his songs on X's SoundCloud, which led X's SoundCloud to get locked, and he couldn't repost nothing for a day. And I think X was selling reposts for like $100, so it was easy money, and they were using that for his case. And I guess Kid Trunks just fucked everything.
Whoa, don't bring nobody to my house on fuck with, bro. I say y'all could bring hoes, y'all could do whatever y'all gotta do. $1,000 laptop in there. I got my fucking clothes in there, you feel me? I got my lyrics in there for my new album that I'm finna get taken. Main brought Walk to the house, bro. Main brought Walk to the house and fucking Will was asleep. Took my phone. Took my and let Walt repost 5 of his songs. Now look, this not fucking what he said. I went on my Twitter while I'm locked up, tweeted one of his songs. Slap him in. Slap him in. I let the niggas hear this, bro, because nobody respected me as a person, as a fucking friend. I have let y'all boys ride with me from the jump. Actually, let me talk to Ming real quick. So they about to beat your ass. But if I don't believe it, and if it's fake, like I'm just gonna recommend this to you. You better make sure it's not fake, and you better make sure you feel that pain, because if you don't feel that pain now, you're gonna feel it when I get out.
And in March 2014, X met his then manager, Absent Will. He was one of X's first managers, and he was also one of X's longest friends. X sent almost every song to Absent Will from 2014 all the way to almost 2016. Ja was on the music grind from 2014 until the end of 2015. He was even still dropping music while in jail. Shit, a month after XXX Unmastered dropped, Ice Hotel released. On April 7, 2014, X released Ice Hotel, which was his second EP. Now I have to say that we got really lucky getting this EP because X would delete everything. He deleted XXX Unmastered shortly after releasing it, and this album consisted more of his rare music. If I'm not wrong, he probably recorded half of this album with some Apple earphones, and the mixing on this album is fucking horrendous, but it somehow fits the vibe for the album. It makes it somehow sound so bad that it's good. Now, sadly, on April 18, 2014, on Ski Master Slump God's 18th birthday, Ski Master decided to have his 18th birthday at this club. I'm guessing it's called The Warehouse, but X and Ski ended up going to this club for his birthday, and X ended up abusing a lot of drugs. According to this post on VLONE Rares on Instagram, X had 6 Xans, 3 cups of alcohol, and a joint. Hey, them Florida boys love their Xans, bro. I ain't even gonna lie. But X at the time was having problems with his ex, who was Destiny at the time, because she was being distant with him, and he saw her at a party with someone else. Now, knowing X, this obviously led him to crash out, because this obviously fucking crash out worthy, bro. Obviously, you see some fucked up shit like that, you gon' fucking think some weird shit, you know, going on. And well, X started doing some stupid ass shit. Now, who knows what he ended up doing, but he was probably fighting or, you know, screaming and saying bullshit. This, of course, ruined Ski's birthday, and it led X to apologize on Twitter, and he ended up recording a song by the name of 3 AM. And this is what I mean by X is a weirdo, because this song is supposed to be an apology, but it's also a diss track aimed at like 5 different people. But they shortly patched things up and became friends again, and shortly made music. He sadly ended up getting arrested shortly after dropping XXX Unmastered. Now, X was on a serious grind in 2014 all the way to 2016, because this man was dropping a whole bunch of music but deleting almost all of it. And X around this time was also making a lot of friends. He already met a lot of musical friends. For example, Koki, Cade. He also met this guy by the name of Yans, who he started a little group by the name of The Nobodies with. And many people actually thought it was a collab tape or a mixtape, but it turned out to be just another one of his groups that ended up failing. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but X never used a Yans beat, and you're probably wondering why. It's probably because his fucking beats were cheeks.
Bruh.
Around this time in 2014, X really wanted to take his music really serious because he already had a whole lot of people that were involved into the industry and a whole bunch of friends that were just down to make music. Shit, even his living situation was fucking him over because he was living between his mom and his grandma, but mostly with his grandma since his mom was always around and always busy. And X's grandma was very strict on rules because she gave him a curfew, and if he wasn't home by that curfew, he would be locked out of the house. But X wasn't letting that stop him, so he continued dropping even more music, and he even dropped his EP, The Fall. November 1st, 2014, X had a photo shoot for his EP, The Fall, at Inverry Country Club, Nevada. This is around the time that X started experimenting more with his music and started going more with his emotional stuff. This little EP consisted of 6 songs, and it was X showing his versatility. Before X released The Fall, he was only making boom bap music. Now around this time, X was working with this so-called producer by the name of Koki. Now sadly we don't know much about Koki because he did pass away due to an overdose, and he was a very anonymous person. No one even knew who he was until very recently. But Koki was the reason that X was getting most of his beats, even though he was stealing them mostly from YouTube. Rest in peace Koki, because if it wasn't for him, there would be a lot of songs that would never even exist. He was also the one that showed X how to not get taken down from SoundCloud by putting produced by XX in the title. And just when X started having fun with his music and he started getting a hang of it, around November 2014, X met Geneva. Now, before X and Geneva met, they did anything together. Geneva had an abusive boyfriend who she lived with and ended up kicking her out. And Geneva was basically an e-girl. She was always online, so she would basically talk to a whole bunch of people online. And she met X online. She met him through Twitter, and they would often talk on there. See, Geneva's boyfriend was also being an asshole because he also would leak Geneva's nudes on Twitter because he would hate her, or he was basically mad at her for something. And X even offered Geneva to be his ass for her. X eventually found out that Geneva was homeless because of her boyfriend, and he ended up meeting up with her at a motel in Hollywood Hills, Florida. Now, if you guys want to know the whole lore about X and Geneva, you guys should definitely go watch the documentary because they go more into it. But X and Geneva stopped seeing each other because Geneva found out that X had a girlfriend. And the girlfriend in question was Cynthia. Now, Cynthia and X had done a blood bond together, and this made things even worse since Geneva knew. And if you don't know what a blood bond is, it's basically when a couple cuts each other just to put blood on top of each other, just to become closer. And Cynthia was actually a major part of X's life because she was with him the longest. As much as I know, X loved Cynthia, and he even at one point probably did live with her for a little bit. And Cynthia's even said in her videos that X was her first love. Shit, Cynthia's the reason that X got the elephant tattoo on his neck, because Cynthia loved elephants, and X learned to love elephants the same way that she did. And Cynthia's liking inspired X to get the tattoo on his neck. He claims he wanted to be like an elephant, be passive and aggressive, but deadly and quiet.
What's good with the necktie? It's an elephant. It's about being a stronger person while being passive. And that's what I've been trying to learn. I've been trying to not be a lion. I'm trying to be an elephant.
And X loved these two with all his heart because he made songs on both of these people. He made songs on Geneva and Cynthia. Mostly on Geneva, since 17 was mostly about Geneva. And so is the song Run, which was released December 3rd, 2014. And X sent the song to Geneva with a message saying that he got a dress for her. Geneva thought that this is one of the sweetest things that anyone has ever done for her. But at the time, X was still with Cynthia, and they ended up breaking up because X ended up cheating on her with her best friend.
Why did I break up with Josh? A lot of reasons why. The one that broke the ice was when he fucked my best friend. That's what broke the ice.
X was obviously hurt by this, and he put his feelings more into his art. Songs like Lunacy, Wing-Ridden Angel, and Alone, and even another song that sadly lost by the name of I'm Alone, I'm Sorry, Cynthia, were written for her. And majority of X's sad songs were dedicated to Cynthia or were dedicated to Geneva. For example, the EP Heartbreak Hotel was a little concept, but the EP ended up being scrapped, and this album probably would have been filled with just emotional music. Songs like Skin and Leave, which ended up being late, gave us a good concept of what the album would have sounded like. Also, while working on Heartbreak Hotel, X was also working on Red Light District, which is where the most famous rare song, the most famous lost song, Red, is on. X in his early days was a weirdo. He never finished any of his projects. He only would tweet stuff out and would never drop anything. He teased a lot of things and would end up deleting them or just never end up finishing them. X's life wasn't easy at all. His mom wasn't really around and he was homeless since he was a teenager. And X around 2014 was very depressed, either for drugs or the girls that he was with. You can very much hear in his music that he was going through a lot. It's sad because all this man really needed was his mom to just give him a hug or just to give him attention. He probably would have came out a little bit normal. And this is just the beginning of X's career, because going into 2015 is a whole different era of X, because that era is something crazy.